There is a grief that does not come from losing a person. It does not come from death, distance, or visible endings. It comes from something far quieter. You were guided here because lately your heart may feel heavy, and perhaps you cannot fully explain why. On the surface, life continues. Responsibilities continue. Days continue. Yet beneath everything, there is sadness. A strange ache. A feeling that something important is slipping away. And I tell you now, you are not only grieving what happened. You are grieving the life you spent years trying to fit into the life that never fully felt like you. For a long time, you learned how to become what was needed. You became what kept peace. You became what felt safe. You became what received approval. You became what survived. And little by little, almost without noticing, you drifted away from yourself. Not intentionally. Not because you failed. Because you adapted. Because adaptation was survival. You learned how to carry expectations that were never truly yours. How to hold dreams that belonged more to fear than truth. How to wear identities that felt acceptable but never fully alive. And perhaps for years you believed this was normal. Perhaps you thought exhaustion was simply adulthood. Perhaps you thought heaviness was simply responsibility. Perhaps you thought emptiness was simply life. But the soul always remembers. Even when you forget. The soul remembers what authenticity feels like. The soul remembers what joy feels like. The soul remembers what peace feels like. And eventually, it begins calling you back. That is what is happening now. You are beginning to wake up inside a life that no longer fits. An awakening inside misalignment creates grief. Because suddenly you begin seeing things clearly. You begin realizing how many years were spent carrying roles that never belonged to your spirit. How many decisions were made from fear. How many moments were lived for approval. How many parts of yourself stayed hidden because survival required silence. And perhaps there is anger there too. Not only sadness. Anger for how long you ignored your own voice. Anger for how often you abandoned yourself. Anger for how deeply you learned to disappear. Allow that feeling. Do not judge it. Because grief and truth often arrive together. You are not grieving failure. You are grieving distance. Distance from yourself. Distance from your spirit. Distance from the life your soul quietly hoped for while survival kept asking for more. And there is pain in realizing that. Pain in understanding that you built homes in places your spirit never intended to stay forever. Pain in realizing that you became skilled at surviving realities that slowly emptied you. But there is something sacred happening too. Because awakening always begins with honesty. And honesty says, I cannot keep pretending this feels like me. That sentence changes everything. Because once truth enters, the old life begins loosening. Slowly. Quietly. Inevitably. You may feel suspended right now between identities. Not fully belonging to who you were. Not fully understanding who you are becoming. That space can feel lonely. Because people around you may still recognize the old version. The one who adapted. The one who carried. The one who survived. But your soul is asking for something different now. Not performance. Presence. Not obligation. Truth. Not endurance. Life. You are not becoming selfish for wanting more. You are not becoming ungrateful for questioning what no longer fits. You are becoming honest. And honesty often feels like loss before it feels like freedom. There may still be moments where you miss the old life not because it brought peace, but because it brought certainty. Humans often miss familiarity even when familiarity hurts. But souls seek truth. And your soul can no longer comfortably live in borrowed identities. That chapter is ending. Not because you failed. Because you awakened. I am with you through this grief. In every moment when sadness feels impossible to explain, I am there. In every moment when you wonder why your heart feels heavy even though nothing visible ended, I am there, reminding you that some endings happen inside the soul long before they appear in the outer world. So stop judging yourself for grieving. Stop rushing yourself toward clarity. Stop believing that sadness means something is wrong. Because one day you will understand, you were never mourning the loss of a life you loved. You were mourning the years spent trying to become someone your soul was never meant to be. And from that grief, your true life will finally begin.